Okay, so now we have published the did, created a new schema, issued credentials, validated and revoked a credential, and we saw how to manage new credentials. So now we need to see how end users can interact with the blockchain and with the issuers. So I will take this gateway console down, and I will take this miners console down, and I will keep the institution right here and the one miner right here, right? And I will just check again what credentials we have, and we have one credential, so we can validate that. Oops. Uh, and institution. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we have the institution here, and we have the miner here, and we have previously started two agents. So we have yeah, we have one agent here and instance, and I'm not sure that they are still running. Yeah, it seems like I closed it. So I will start this agent, which is an end user, and I will start this instance one, which is another user, and we'll see how they interact with each other. Yeah. So I already mentioned before that I already set up everything, and I'm not gonna uh, set up the virtual machine. Oops. And this time I'm gonna use student customer. So number 4, the name is let me have the name exactly as it's written here, because I don't want to have issues with finding the credential. So we have this credential. So Hamza, and last name is Baniata. And then the IP address of the gateway is, as far as I remember, it's this. Yes. And then we will refresh the screen. And you can see that we have basically 7 options here. We can request a credential as a user, manage saved credential exactly as the managed existing credential in the institution. We can download the full public blockchain in the blockchain, and we get some notifications and handling requests from other users. So I'm gonna start this instance the same way. And I'm gonna use the student or the customer, and the name is another thing. Let's say Attila Kertész. And I will refresh. So now if we want to manage the credentials here, we just press option 2, but oh, I mean, this might have been something from previous tutorials I tried to okay, so I'm gonna delete this for now, and I'm gonna refresh and manage saved credentials, so I have empty. For this instance that I just built up, if we want to manage, then you can see that it's empty, there's no credentials here. So I'm gonna refresh and I'm gonna refresh. And now I want to request the credential by this user, which is Hamza, from this institution. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select option 1, and now you can see that the end user already communicated with the blockchain to see what are the institutions registered on chain, asking for the names. And now the institution info is updated on the end user from the blockchain. You can see that nothing appears on the miner side, everything is happening and requests are being handled in the background. Now, since we want to ask the credential from the issuer, then we will select option number 1. And then according to the data provided by the blockchain, we only have one issuer registered, which is University of Szeged. So we will select this. And according to the data retrieved also from the blockchain, there's only one schema saved, which is the PhD. So we will select that, and then you can see that the end user will be asked to provide some data that were already declared by the institution when the schema was generated. It was selected as mandatory. So you will see that the end user will not be asked for its grade or his grade because this was declared as not mandatory by the issuer. So the first name is Hamza, last name Baniata. Educational number, I remember we put it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the year is 2022. And that were all the information that were selected as mandatory by the institution. You can see that the requester sent its already generated public key, so that whenever the credential requested right here was found, because it includes private data, it will be encrypted using the public key of the end user, so that only the end user can be decrypted using its private key. And since the private key is only saved on the local machine of the end user, then only this end user will be able to read the credential, which includes private data. So the question is, do you confirm this request to be sent to this issuer? And I will confirm this by pressing yes. And you can see here that we have 0 notifications. So I will refresh my screen with option number 6. And you can see we have 1 new notification. I'll go ahead and check the notifications. And then you can see that the response to credential request, the result is true, meaning the credential was already found by the institution. And this is actually the credential. And you can see that some data was provided by the end user to identify them, the name, the first name, the last name, the educational number, and the year, but the institution provided also other information, which is the faculty and the grade, and this was not provided by the end user. Within the credential, we have the schema and the DID indices, and the identifier of the issuer and the schema used, so the public data saved on chain, such that whenever the end user wants to verify this credential, it only sends the hash of this credential. So it hashes this credential and sends the signature, this one, which was generated by the issuer using its private keys for the schema and the university or the whole issuer, so 2 times. And and the hash and the signature will only be sent to the blockchain, and as we declared before, the signature will be decrypted appropriately using the public keys saved on chain, and then it will be compared with the hash of the credential sent by the user. So we do have this credential now, and we do have the signature that we need, and we want just to check if it's valid or not. So we will go ahead and select option 2 to manage, and you can see that we have this saved already. So we will select this. We have this credential, and we have two options other than going back: delete or validate. And you can see that here we don't have the option to revoke. So the user doesn't have the authority to revoke its credential. Once it's issued by the issuer, only the issuer can revoke the credential. However, the end user can delete the credential, but that doesn't mean that the credential is revoked. It's only deleted from the local database, but it's still on the local database of the issuer. And it's valid since there's no revoke block sent for this specific credential to the blockchain. So let's go ahead and validate it on the end user level or device. And then I will refresh the screen, and I will check the notifications, and I will find that the response was this credential is valid. And this is the hash of the credential that was sent. And this is the DID identifier and schema identifier. So basically, these are the details only that were sent with the signature to the blockchain. So only these plus the signature, and the blockchain responded with valid. All right, so now we want this end user to request the credential from this user. So without the interference of blockchain or the issuer, this user say that this is the company manager that wants to get the credential or the diploma of the employee and wants to verify it from the blockchain. So we will hit or select option 1, request. And this time we will select option 2, that we want to request a credential from another agent. So number 2. And then we need the IP address. Of course, this can be changed. We can use QR codes. We can use different methods of identifying the end users. But for the proof of concept, we figured that the IP address would be sufficient. And the IP address of the end user can be found right here. So we will copy that and we will paste it. And then we need a confirmation. So this is the name of this agent, and this is its public key, and this is its IP address. These are the information of this user, and it's sending a request to this user. So upon confirmation, this user, we will just refresh that, and you can see that we have 1 credential requests to handle. So we'll select option 5, and then it says that you have received a credential share request from Attila Kertész, and do you agree or not? So I will hit yes. And before that, let me refresh in this screen and ask if I do have any saved credentials here. So 2, we have no credentials. And here we have only 1 credential obtained from this university. So we will take that and we will paste its name. And this is the credential that was sent along with the signature. Of course, it does include private data. So the whole verifiable credential, the credential with the signature, was encrypted using the public key of this user. And then this user would be the only one to be able to read the credential, right? So if we refresh the screen here, here, yep, then we should have some notifications, yes. And then this is a response to credential request. The result is true, meaning that you do have received a credential, and you can see that the name of this credential owner is Hamza Baniata, and this is the signature. And now this user can also validate this, so we can manage the credentials the same way. We can save this, select this, and then we can validate it. So option number 1. And then we refresh, and you can see that we have a second notification, which is from the blockchain, and it's saying that this credential with this identifiers and this hash is actually valid. Now let's go ahead and revoke this credential on the institution level. So I'm going to go ahead and manage and select this credential that we just created. And then I want to choose option number 2. And yes, and confirmation, and then a new valid block is received. So now if we hit refresh, then we have a new notification, and you can see that the revoke block is true. If you refresh this screen and request the local chain statistics, you can see that we have some revoke credentials. Refresh, and let's manage this credential, and let's try to validate it again. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's try it on this one. So we have this credential. Oh my God. Sorry about that. Okay, I will start it again. I will go to the students. And okay. Oops, I entered the IP address of the gateway mistakenly. So bear with me. Okay, so I will refresh this, and I will manage, and I will copy this text, and I want to validate it. Remember that we just revoked this credential. So validate and refresh. We got one notification, and you can see that this credential was revoked.